Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. Before we begin, just a couple of reminders as always. I am not your financial advisor, and we never provide investment advice on the channel. So with that being said, if you're new, thank you for joining us here in the series. Maybe you heard about it, from a friend or somebody wanting you to go ahead and check it out. Maybe you're interested in learning a little bit more about Dexscreener, or you're just curious about, what we're doing in terms of, what we can discover each day. But either way, glad to have you here. And for anybody else who's been following along, I certainly appreciate your subscription to the channel. If you are subscribed, if you're not subscribed, please consider getting subscribed, so that way when the videos do drop, you can get an instant notification, and that way you're not coming late, because again, sometimes this information can be time sensitive. Sometimes it's actually better to wait, depending on where we find something on a market cap and, what it may do, depending on what we choose to set as far as alerts are concerned. But with that being said, certainly appreciate every subscriber that decides to subscribe to the channel. So I know this video actually is coming out a little bit later than usual. I usually like to get these done earlier in the morning, but that's just kind of the ebbs and flows of life. Sometimes I can get to it earlier, sometimes I can't. But also, before we begin, want to let you know that obviously, with the holidays coming up, there may be days, where I'm not able to record, so just keep that in mind. I try to go ahead and make these, videos daily, but again, if I can't get to it, at the start of the day, or I can't get to it because, I'm out at family and whatnot, I'm sure you guys understand. So, but obviously I will try to leave a note, for the community. This is also another benefit of being subscribed, because I can leave, community notes, so if I do that, you can also be alerted, to whatever I post or broadcast, to all my subscribers. So again, consider getting subscribed, certainly for, if nothing else, for that reason, to kind of just stay in touch in terms of any communication I put out there. The other thing is, as far as like, the call channel, I do put information out there, as well, especially in the event, if I'm traveling or if I just can't get to something. So that may also be another place to check, in terms of communication. So as far as the flow of this, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and go through some of the tabs up here, take a look at, some alerts and, any review that we need to go through before we get into filters. And, then we'll go ahead and get to the end of the video, and, then we'll call it a day. So with that being said, so what we've got here, we got Bolt. So this one didn't do so hot. So we looked at this one yesterday. If we look at the alerts, we set this one at 76K. You can see here in the note that I made, that was where we found it. And then obviously I wanted it to alert me when the market cap went over 90,000. So with this one, what looks like happened, it did go over 90,000, but as soon as it did, it looks like they just went ahead and dumped it, right after the fact. So again, part of the reason why we set these alerts is we want to get that indicator in terms of, what are we seeing, at the time of the alert, and when it triggers, helping us to make some kind of informed decision as to, what do we want to do after that alert has been triggered. So, obviously we're going to go ahead and do some continued investigation after the alert's triggered, based on what we're seeing. So with this particular one, the alert obviously was helpful. I'm not just going to go ahead and show you alerts, when the alert triggers and then the chart goes up. You also need to know what it looks like, when the alert triggers and the chart goes down. So this is one of those cases where, you'd be glad not to have decided to take an entry into something like this, because let's say that it triggered, at that 90K mark, and then all of a sudden the chart just dumps, So again, consider these things indicators. As I've told you guys before, if you've been following for any amount of time, I'm a teacher by trade, so I've been a teacher, I've been an admin, so I do like to reinforce concepts, because I think that's how we learn. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close this out, but we're also going to delete these alerts, because I think at this point, we know that people buy into charts, where they're buys. We don't get people a lot of times buying into charts, where it looks bottomed out like this, especially when it doesn't look like there's any hope of recovery. And we're continuing to just go ahead and see sells, on the chart anyway. So with that being said, that's going to be the end of Bolt here. Now, this one we didn't necessarily talk about on the channel, but I had it open, just as one that I came across and I was looking at, so this is called Bundle. I'm looking at it for a few days now. So when I set some alerts, on this one, as you can see, I've got 2 alerts set. So they're both still active. Alert me when the market cap goes under 100K and alert me when the market cap goes over 160. So because there's still some activity on this chart, I am interested to see, if it can get to 160, that may, lead me to take another look, at this particular one and see, how I'd like to proceed. If it goes under 100, K on the market cap, I may set another alert just to see if it's going to retrace even further, which will give me some kind of indication, as to, whether there's going to be any kind of buy activity that may help recover, this chart to, at least, some area in here. But with that said, I just want to go ahead and bring that one up, as well. And we got Claude, which we've been talking about, for the last couple of days as well. So wanted to bring this one up because obviously I remember when we looked at this initially, we were at 286K somewhere in this arena. And then obviously yesterday it jumped to, really well to almost 800K. As you can see, because this price here would indicate, that 800K mark, so I think I mentioned yesterday it got to like 769. And so it retraced, but then there was still some buy pressure here where it kind of started to recover and then it retraced big time here. So we've got some ups and downs, but this is where we're sitting at, at just around 400K. So, and actually remember there's a delay here. So this is sitting at 385 and this is telling you up here in the tab that it's actually at 375. So either way, that's where we're at. We can take a look at the alerts that we've got set on this. They're both disabled, so they've both been triggered. So what we're going to do, and one thing I mentioned, or I saw yesterday in the video when I went to review it, was that when I was talking about this was already disabled. So I should have reset it and I didn't, so that's just something that, my own review in terms of what I saw yesterday, and looking back on that video. So what we're going to do, since this is sitting at 375, we're going to, make a couple of adjustments. So right here, we're going to set this at 375 as far as our notes concerned. Now we want to see, I'm thinking 425 on this one as we continue to watch. So that's what that's going to be. I'm going to hit enter on that one. So now this is back to being active, okay? And remember, especially if you're new here, when these alerts are disabled, it means that they've already triggered, so if you want to do anything with it, you can reset the alert by clicking on this button right here. And if you want to edit the alert, you can do that here. If you want to delete the alert, you can do that here. So what we're going to do with this one, because this is going to be an under alert, we're going to change a couple of things here. So right here, this is going to be, 375, okay. All right, and we're going to also set this at, I don't know, let's set it at 325. All right, so let's see what we're looking at in terms of retracement or possible retracement. And we'll see what we're looking at, on, possible buy pressure coming back onto the chart. Okay, so we're gonna exit there, and we're gonna continue to keep an eye on this one. Now, if any of you that have been copying my my alerts and filters that I've been setting as we go through the series, maybe got an entry much earlier, around that 286K mark, congrats, because obviously you would have seen or you would have experienced obviously some gains based on setting that alert and obviously what the chart did yesterday. For anybody else, we're still looking for maybe opportunities on this, where if there is retracement, in the channel's still active, So I think they're looking for another leg, up on this one. Now also keep in mind, you got that launch, where you got that launch candle here. They've already had one run here. And I think, when it comes to stuff like this, especially early on, if this retraces heavy, I'm not seeing this one recover. So, the best thing, or actually not the best thing, but what we're looking for is maybe a little bit more of a correction, but then another leg up on the chart. If we can't get there, that may signal to me that, hey, it may be a while before this one starts to move again, or just may be done. I know that may sound a little premature, but again, charts don't typically just keep correcting and keep running, okay? And if they do, it doesn't take them forever to go ahead and do that. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and close out of this one, and We're going to close out of the alerts because, I pretty much opened what I wanted to see. Now I've got some stuff going on in my alerts here that we haven't talked about. Pair is one that I went ahead and I called on the main channel in Telegram this morning. And so I think I called that at 3 million. And last time I looked, it was sitting around 3.8, but it did retrace. And that's the reason why you're seeing this note here, because I wanted to set an alert because I wanted to be made aware of it without having to sit and watch that chart. Now, again, if you're new, the great thing about these alerts is that you can set them and forget them. Okay, so if a chart is kind of just sitting idle for a couple of weeks, the alerts are going to stay active until they're triggered. Okay, and you don't have to keep checking in on that chart. So for me, I was curious because I thought that the chart, may retrace. We'll just open it up since I'm talking about it. All right, so, and now it's sitting at 3 million again. So here's what happened. And we're going to go ahead and kind of zoom out of this a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. So yeah, I called it at 3 million. It retraced. I think it was really around here, I believe. And it retraced to about 2.5, 2.6 area, and then it jumped back up, at some big buys to around 3.7, and then it's retraced obviously again. So yeah, that's what's going on here. So that's the chart for Pair AI. This one looked like a pretty decent, token to me. So that's the reason why I called it on the main channel. So we'll see if it can get, to that $5-6 million dollar market cap arena, so that we can actually see some people at least make some gains, on that one for anybody that chose to follow it, on the main channel. So, all right, but either way, like I said, I do go ahead and set alerts on a number of different things. I think at one point I had like almost 30 alerts in here. So, and that's not unusual because I tend to set an alert, for over, and I set an alert for under, and a lot of tokens, which obviously is going to increase the amount of alerts that you have. Also keep in mind, especially if you're new or if you haven't been following, us for a while, that when logging in, to Dexscreener is helpful, because again, it'll sync, all of your alerts across any browsers that you use where you log in. And obviously, if you choose to make use of the mobile device, you can get their mobile app and you can log in there and it'll sync it on your phone too. So that way, if you set an alert, on your computer or whether it's on the phone, that alert is going to be synced across any device that you use Dexscreener on, and it'll stay there until you remove it or until it's triggered, and then you decide to do something with the alert. Okay, so but either way, I'm not going to go through all my alerts here, but just definitely wanted to go ahead and at least give you an example and show you Pair AI. So we're going to close out of this, and let's see here. We're going to, since I've reset this window, we got to go ahead and do our customization again. So that's this little gear right here. And as you guys know, I can't stay in some of these, so I'm going to get rid of price, transactions, volume, and makers. And it's my own preference, so if you were to sit there and ask me, why do you get rid of, this one, this one, this one, and this one? Really, it's just my own preference. I tend to prefer to pay attention to age. The time frames here, 5 minute, 1 hour, 6 hours, 24 hour. I don't really care about liquidity because anything that we're going to be looking at has at least $1,000 in liquidity. And I keep market cap on just because I like the visual being able to see that. So we'll click apply. And for anybody, if I'm talking too fast, sometimes when I do these videos, I do have a tendency to talk, very quickly, so, but the benefit of the video is that you can always go back through and you can replay it, so that, you can listen to it as many times as you need to just to wrap your head around, whatever I'm saying. Okay, so I do apologize, for anybody that's like annoyed that maybe I'm talking too fast, but it's not something I can control, when I do videos, it's just kind of my pace. So I've already done the customization and filters. So on the filters here, I think we're going to focus on, let's look at Solana. Okay. Some days, we'll do Ethereum. Some days we'll do Solana and ETH. And even in one video, if I'm finding that we're just coming across a bunch of stuff that's just kind of like, these aren't very good tokens and a lot of scams, we may go ahead and just decide, okay, fine, we're not going to focus on one chain. We're just going to focus on two. So with that being said, but liquidity, we're not touching that. Minimum market cap, so again, we like to stick, with our, because again, we're focusing on, trying to find stuff early, so 50K, if a token to me can't get to 50K, it's not worth my time. So I'm not going to look at it. I think, a token needs to be able to get to at least 50K for me to even, be curious, about the token. All right, max, we'll go ahead and we'll go with the 500K. Okay, and as always, guys, you can either mirror what I'm doing here, or you can adjust it on your own. You can put in whatever numbers you want. If you think you want to look at something even earlier, 25K, fine, go ahead and do that. And if you want to go to a million, that's fine too. I still think if you got tokens that are anything under 1 million and they have the potential to take off, 1 million is still pretty early. But for me, I a lot of times don't go up to 1 million. I do have very rare instances where I may just out of curiosity put this at 5 million just to see what's gotten out there beyond 1 million. But oftentimes this is going to kind of be my bread and butter in terms of what I'm looking at as far as minimum market cap and the max. Okay, so pair age, we're going to go ahead and look at a little bit further just because, yesterday we ran into a lot of scams and I don't really care to do that consecutive days. So let's look at, 48 hours to 120 hours. 120 hours puts us at basically what? I think 5 days, so that's what we're going to do. We'll look at 10%. So as always, we do 10% change minimum because I want to see tokens that have had at least a positive 10% in terms of their change. Over the last 24 hours. So there we are. And then we're also going to take the 24-hour because I want to see the tokens with the largest gain, all the way down, okay, to basically anything that's at least 10%. A lot of times we start at the top, I think we'll change it up today and we'll see. We'll start at the bottom because, I typically just open some tokens and there's a lot that we can't get to just because if we tried to get to everything, you'd be talking about a 2 or 3 hour video and most of you guys are going to check out way before then. So, all right. So with that being said, let's just take a look at what's going on here at the bottom. Okay. So like I said, we're changing it up. We typically never start out at the bottom, but we're going to be changing it up. So, all right. So what did I open up? And we've got a total of 54 tokens. So I've opened up everything over to Frosky. Keep in mind when we come back, some of this may have changed just because, as you guys know, because I've mentioned it before, Dexscreener auto updates. So if we're looking at charts and all of a sudden something is shifted or something fell off, because maybe, it didn't continue to meet our parameters, for at least that 10%, then understand that's the reason why. Is because, Dexscreener is making adjustments on the fly for us. Okay, so what I like to do, and we've got this set up to 1 hour. I don't really know that we need to change that, but we'll see as we look at more charts. So typically, we're going to open up some tabs as we've already done that. And we're going to take a look at some different charts and see what's going on. Okay, so we got some flattened out charts, and then we've got that, and that, and that. Okay, so let's take a look. So I didn't see anything in terms of flags, okay, but there are a couple of tokens where I didn't see any socials. So if I don't see socials, I'm not looking at them, so just making you aware of that. We want to see some socials, so, and especially if you're new, what we should be seeing over here are some socials, a website, an X account, Twitter account, Telegram, Discord. Now, I typically don't open up the Discord just because it's just another process for me doing these. And for the sake of consistency, I'm just going to stick to Telegram, but if we see something that has Discord, you can always make a note on your own to look at it by yourself, beyond the video. I'm just not, going in Discord, during this video series. Whether you like it or not, that's just my own personal opinion or choice. Okay, so with this one, we don't see any socials. With this one, we don't see any socials, so we're not messing around with either of those. Okay, so the rest of these, we get socials. Actually, this one we don't. We just get a website, so I'm not messing around with this one either. So, okay, but again, if you're mirroring, if you're copying what I'm doing, you can always go ahead and take note of whatever project that we looked at, and you can take a look at it on your own. The other side note that I want to mention here is that you can, let's say, because obviously I'm not looking at the contract addresses, we've got them up here, but I'm not leaving them for you, like in the description. You can go ahead and copy the name. Let's take one here. Okay, like Megamind here. You can copy this, like I showed you guys yesterday. You can go back into Dexscreener, go to the search box, and you can go ahead and just paste it in here, and they'll bring up any of the Megamind tokens. Now this one, this is 264K. So this is the one that we're looking for. So that way, if it's something you see in the video that I'm doing and you're like, how do I get back to that token? That's how you do it, okay? Just take note of the name of the token, go to search, paste it in, and there you go. All right, so we're going to close that out. Okay, so we're going to start here. The chart doesn't look too bad, on the 1 hour, okay? So the buy transactions, I don't really see anything, largely concerning there. Again, remember, I've talked about this a little bit more frequently in the last couple of videos. You can always take a look at bubble maps, see if there's something concerning there. Now, I don't always do this on video, but what I can tell you is that, if you're looking at it on your own, again, I've said it multiple times, bubble maps is not a bad thing to go ahead and look at, because it's just another piece of contextual information that is helpful to, consider in terms of, how you want to proceed in any token you're looking at, so you can go ahead and you can open the wallet list up, and here is, I want to see what's going on here, because when they highlight this, it's good to see, like who has a cluster of wallets and what percentage, of supply are they holding. So they got 3 wallets, so you can highlight it. You can see those also highlighted here in green. Okay, so it's 8, 9, and 18 are the wallets that belong to this, particular cluster, and they hold a total of 5.5% of supply. Now, I don't consider 5.5, to be largely concerning. If we get anything beyond 5%, then that tends to lead me to go ahead and say, that's a little bit risky. So because obviously, if a person, let's say that you get reach an all-time high in a token, and the person's got like, 5, 7, 10% of the supply, and they dump it in the all-time high, guess what? Everybody else is going to go ahead and offload tokens too, because that's going to lead to a pretty large sell candle on the chart. And people typically, follow that kind of behavior, leads to panic selling, and then before you know it, the chart can't recover. So I definitely, would encourage you to take a look, at bubble maps, as you look at tokens, just to see who's holding what, because that may be the largely determining factor as to whether you decide to jump into it or not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and check out, their Telegram. So here we go. All right, here we are. Okay, so here we go. We get a portal. All right, so we're going to go ahead and check in what's going on. I'm going to clear. This is not unusual for me to do. I usually do this on when I'm filming. But either way, we get the link. So here we are. Now we can see right away this is the CTO. So first things first, when was the last buy on this one? 11:56. So this was over 10 minutes ago. So right away, I can tell you that this is one that I probably wouldn't be interested in, just because it's been over 10 minutes since the last buy, and people don't typically like stagnant charts, so they typically want to see more buying activity. So, I mean, I'm still going to go through this, but for me personally, I wouldn't take a look at this, and that's just my own personal preference, as far as I'm concerned. Looking at the pin messages, we got some pin messages. They're doing some raids, so, it looks like they've got some community participation as far as the raids are concerned. All right, so there's decent art, here, as far as that's concerned. A message to the community, as well. They're actively working to grow the community. They've got some updates here, which is good to see. So, so I do like the communication, but one thing that I don't really care for is the fact that it doesn't look like they've got much buying activity. So they're also looking for, they're looking for the community to vote, so they can get some trending going. Okay, so, but yeah, as far as that's concerned for me, that's my thoughts, in regards to this particular token. So we're going to leave and head back on out. Okay, but if you want to keep an eye on this one, that's fine. For me, like I said, the major concern for me is that there isn't a lot of buying activity, and I think in order for any token to survive, you have to see a larger frequency of buys. That's just my own thoughts. There are exceptions to that. This could still make some moves. But I'll tell you what, just because there is some level of curiosity here for me, we're going to go ahead and go to market cap. We're at 85K right now. Okay, so even though I'm not in the community, I'm still going to go ahead and set an alert, just because it's just really curiosity at this point for me. Let's see if they can get to 100K. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we'll set one for the under, and so I'm going to add a note at 85K. Okay, and I think that if they go to 60, this one might struggle, a bit to go ahead and stay alive. Okay, so the alerts have been set. We're going to close out the tab. So Megamind here, chart looks, you know, I'm not really crazy about the chart pattern, but it's not like this looks terrible. It's just, it's an odd, you know, it's not typically a chart pattern that would lead me to say, you know, yeah, this is one I want to continue to look at. So, and that's just what on the 1 hour. Let's see what it looks like on the 4 hour. Yeah, see, for something like this, I'm not crazy about this. I just don't see this as a typical chart pattern. So, but we are going to take a look at the Telegram. Let's see what's going on there. And I'll tell you what, just for the sake of video, we'll take a look at bubble maps too. So let's see what we got going on here. Anything concerning? And it does take a minute to load, you know, this, depending on the amount of information it has to, you know, put together for us. Bubble maps, you know, looks healthy. You know, it looks like this is like, you know, one of your largest holders, you know, so the bubbles really don't get any bigger than this, you know, 2.69%. So it looks like you're not going to have anybody with more than 3%, and we're not seeing connected wallets here in terms of any clusters, you know, so that's just a quick look, you know, visually to see, you know, if there's any kind of concerns there, which I'm not seeing anything right away. We're going to go into the their channel. So, okay, we got a portal here. All right, so we get our link and we're joining. So it does not look like this is a CTO. Actually, you know, yeah, it is a CTO. Usually they'll go ahead and they'll mention it, whether it's a CTO up here, but you can see in their link over here that this is a CTO. Okay, so all right, we got some rating, you know, going on. They've been able to go ahead and, you know, reach their target. Okay, so all right, and we don't have much going on here. They also it looks like they did a boost, you know, paid for it. Okay. So I like the artwork, you know, the drawings, you know, so, all right, not really seeing anything in terms of, you know, how they're going to continue to move this token, you know, so just, you know, making you aware of that, you know, so we're going to go ahead and I think I'm going to close out of this one because I'm not really interested in following this one any further. So here we go. Okay. And let's see here. We're going to close this out and then looking at Frosky. Okay, I think this is kind of fun, you know, possibly just another frog. Okay, so, however, I'm not really crazy about this chart either. So, looking at the 4 hour, the 4 hour looks a little better, you know, in terms of what I would think is more of a normal looking chart. So we see some retracement here. We see a huge run up, and not surprised actually by this retracement because of this candle right here. This candle is ridiculous. So obviously you're going to have people, you know, selling, you know, their tokens off, right? And then it recovers a bit. And so here's where we're kind of sitting. Okay, so this one, yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'm sure we'll take a look at bubble maps. So, and there will be videos where I don't look at bubble maps at all. Okay, so just be aware of that. But since we started looking at bubble maps in this video, we're going to continue just for the consistency, you know, of the video. You know, it doesn't look like anybody's holding larger than 3% here. That's 2.9, 2.5. The bubbles don't get any bigger than that, 2.6. They say high transfer volume, you know, but again, for me, not really seeing any concerns that are standing out for me personally when I look at this. So we're going to take a look at their channel here in Telegram. Okay, and this again looks like a CTO. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we got our link. Okay, and so we're sitting at 301. The last buy was at 12.15. That was 1 minute ago. So we got another buy here. So yeah, I like the fact that we're getting some buy activity. Let's take a look at the pinned messages. Okay, got something going on here on X. Okay, the community. We'll see nothing but transparency there. So whoever's handling the CTO is letting them know that, you know, hey, we're going to communicate, you know, with the community, and we're going to be transparent about what we're doing. Okay. Let's see here. Dex boosts. Okay. You know, so it looks like they are paying for boosts. Okay. And we're talking about CoinGecko. They listed on Solana Hunters. Okay. And I gave them a link. Okay, so it looks like they're trying to go ahead and get some exposure, you know, and obviously they're paying for the boosts, and they're trying to, you know, get rating done. At least I thought they were doing rating in this one. Was I wrong about that? Okay, no, they're not doing rating in this one, so my bad. I apologize. I thought I saw something in regards to rating, but no, they're not doing rating. You know, so for right now, they're choosing not to go that route as far as exposure. I would imagine at some point they're probably going to go that route for exposure because, you know, everybody does, and it is actually helpful in terms of expanding your footprint, in terms of making people aware, you know, of your token. You know, so this one, you know, out of curiosity, I am interested in following this one. So let's, even though I started with my concern about the chart, but this looking at the 4-hour makes a bit more sense to me than it did actually looking, this one. I just didn't like what I was seeing here, and that's just my own visual, so. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and set a couple of alerts for this one just to go ahead and follow and see what our indicators do for us, as we continue to watch how this one goes from here. So we're at 300K right now. I think I'm going to set this for, let's say 340. 340. Actually, you know what? No, I think I'm going to set this at 330. And again, remember, setting these indicators, it's a fluid thing, so you just set what you think, would be a good indicator for you. I'm setting it 330. I think that'd be a good indicator for me. Somebody may think, maybe 310, maybe 325, but 330, I actually want to see some movement, beyond that 300K mark, so. Okay, so there we go. And then if it goes under, I think I want to see this at, 275, okay? Just to go ahead and make another assessment as far as, where I may want to go with this one from here or from there. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, so with that being said, I think we're going to look at maybe just a few more tokens before we go ahead and call it a day on this video. I know we got a ton here to look at, but I don't want to go ahead and make this too long because I've got some other things I got to get to. Especially since I got to this video a bit late, which is not your fault, it's mine. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see what we got. Now we start at the bottom, obviously, and there's been some changes because obviously it moved us up for some reason, but that's Dexscreener auto updating, so making some changes on its own. Let's see here. New York Crypto Exchange. Let's see what this is. Let's see what this is, plat with hat. I'm always kind of interested in this with hat, kind of stuff. We've taken a look at this one before. Solana Index. We'll take a look at Gator. Okay, all right. Let's see what's going on with these real quick. Let's take a look at the charts. Okay, so chart's not terrible. Okay, I do like, man, I like the art there. That looks pretty cool. Looks good. All right. And the Solana Index, okay, this one looks like maybe a small mini uptrend. Okay, and then we've got Gator here, so curious about that one too. Okay, all right, so next thing we need to go and make sure everybody's got socials, so this one doesn't have a Telegram. It's interesting. All right, and then this one, okay, so we got three we can take a look at. So we're going to take a look at it, let's see what Bubble Maps is saying real quick. Okay. So, like I said, this does take, a bit of a minute to go ahead and load. All right, guys, sorry about that. That's just me taking a drink of water. So we get we get this notice right here in terms of a cluster, but I mean, it's less than 3%, basically 3%. That's not really a big deal to me. So I don't really see anything wrong there. We'll just go ahead and get the bubble map stuff out of the way real quick before we move on to the next thing, which is basically looking at the communities. We get a cluster here. This one looks larger. Okay, 5.5. So again, this one could be risky, and then this one a little over 5.5. Another, could be risky too. So this one for me personally, I don't know. I don't really care for, tokens. And I know that we've talked about this in another token before we got to this, series of them, where we're looking at what somebody had held like just over 5.5%. Like I said, 5% for me personally would probably be my max. But, I get where 5.5, you could make the concession there, like, well, what's another 0.5%? But you definitely don't want to go beyond. You don't want to go 6 and above. I will say that. So because that does get, a little very, very risky in my personal opinion. Okay, so we're looking here and we're going to take a look at the bubble maps on this one for Gator. So let's give it a few to load. That's the only thing about bubble maps, as much as I think bubble maps is useful from an informational standpoint, it does take a minute to load. So it kind of slows you down in terms of your workflow. But again, it's, again, good information to have, so, so that's something that you can obviously go ahead and live with. Okay, so this one looks terrible. Okay, so we got a cluster percentage here, 66%. You got this cluster wallets, as well. Yeah, this looks awful, so this was one that I wouldn't touch at all. So we're going to go ahead and leave this one. If you see anything like this, yeah, you definitely do not want to be in a token where you got a cluster percentage like that, because that means, one person is holding a massive amount of supply, so, and I mean, obviously you can investigate it, but if I see something like that, you know what, hey, I'm leaving that alone. But again, that's another example where you can see where Bubble Maps does help to provide some additional context into a token to help you make a more informed, decision as to whether you want to, take a closer look at it, or whether you just want to leave it alone and look at, some other token, that may have maybe a better, a better option for you. Okay, so we're going to go look into the Telegram on this one on NYCE. Okay, so here we go. All right, so here, I mean, you don't get a portal, and you can decide to join the group here just by clicking on this link, but we're not going to go ahead and do that. Let's just take a look at what's going on. Do we see any buys coming in recently? So right now, my computer clock's showing 12:24, and here now, this is at 9:54, so this is definitely a no. We're not going to look at that at all because there's no buy activity. Okay, so that's a no. All right, so we're going to close out of that one. And this one, let's take a look at their Telegram. Okay. All right, so we do get a portal here. Okay, so I'm going to click start, and let's see here. Here we go. And okay, so I don't necessarily like the fact, that, you can't send any messages, in the group. They have a raid in progress, and maybe the raid is the reason why. Because it says this was started 3 minutes ago, so they do have some raids, where on the raids, they close the chat, until the raid has been completed, so it looks like they are getting some good activity, on this raid. However, this raid, it says this was started 3 minutes ago, but this timestamp is 11:03, so this raid has been going on for a long time. If it has been going on for over an hour, and raids typically aren't allowed to go on for that long, I don't think, so this is odd, but I do understand that, with these raid bots, they can continue to go ahead and fill your window in terms of, hey, we're still running a raid, just as a reminder, so, but either way, they've got it pinned here that this raid's still going on in progress, so I don't know, this is kind of confusing for me, if this is a recent raid or if this is one that's been going on for a while. But like I said, my experience is they usually end raids after a certain period of time. Now, I don't know if that's something that the person setting up the raid, can set that timer, or if that's, I don't know how that works, because I haven't, run my own token before. But either way, what I do like, I think is encouraging, is that they do have some good activity on the raid. What I don't like is that the chat is closed. So, but they are still getting buys, because this buy happened at 12:22. It's 12:26 right now, so this was 4 minutes ago. So that's within my 10-minute time window where I would want to see buying activity. Okay. Let's take a look at anything else going on here. They've got some stuff going on, as far as like TikTok, which, a lot of people feel like, TikTok is the place to go these days to get some additional traction. Okay, so they got a video. I don't know what that is. Let's see here. Made some additional groups, for large holders. So maybe they're talking about a whale group, maybe. Okay, I'm not taking a lot of time to read through these. Upcoming drawings, so they got some stuff to maybe engage the community. Okay. All right, so, I mean, there's some stuff going on, as far as the pinned messages, which is positive. I don't know. For me personally, I guess I would set an alert, just kind of keep an eye on this one and see if it does anything. But like I said, more than likely, I definitely want to check into that chat to see if they do open it up. So what we're going to do, let's see here. We're going to go to market cap, and right now we're sitting at 62K. So it is still pretty early, for this one too. I want to know what they're going to do marketing wise, for this token too. So we're going to set this at 62K. Okay. And I'd say maybe if this can get to 80K, that might, definitely get my attention. So, all right. And then for our under, since we're sitting at 62K, I'd say if it gets to 50, that might be kind of concerning for me. Okay. So 62. All right. So we're going to create those alerts. Okay, so with that being said, because I think we're getting to around 40 minutes, on this video, we're going to go ahead and close it out and call it a day. But as always, guys, remember, I do have that Telegram, Crimson's calls that you should definitely go ahead and check out, for additional calls made there. Calls that are made, outside of what we do, in this Dexscreener series. I also make calls on X as well. And I, put some information there. You just never know what I'm going to send over there. So, and there are always links in the description to pay attention to in terms of how to access, Maestro, and how to access the Crimson's calls call channel. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in, for another day of us talking about, Dexscreener and trying to find some opportunities, as far as tokens are concerned in Dexscreener. You know what? There was something else that I wanted to show you guys, but you know what? Hey, I'll leave it for the next video since this one's getting to that 40-minute mark. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, your Monday, and we'll see you next time.